Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. Smackdown tonight was from the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee, and this was Smackdown's go-home shows for Saturday night's main event and Evolution. Saturday night's main event is tomorrow night. Evolution is this Sunday. And Smackdown tonight, I thought it was an okay show, in my opinion. Of course, like WWE did nothing to hype us up for Saturday night's main event or Evolution going into the shows this weekend. But this weekend, it's going to be packed for pro wrestling for us. We got great NXT Great American Bash tomorrow, AEW All In, which they are going head-to-head. And we also got Saturday night's main event tomorrow. And then Evolution on Sunday. So it's going to be a packed weekend for us fans. But tonight on SmackDown, we had a fatal four-way where it was Alexa Bliss versus Kairi Sane versus Ruca versus Roxanne Perez. We had the Tag Team Championship on the line where the Street Profits defend the titles against the Wyatt SICKS. R-Truth was in action. He ended up taking on Aleister Black, and I guess WWE, wants, Ron Killings to go back to the name R-Truth since, he came out on Monday Night Raw when they re-signed him because of fan backlash, because of WWE releasing him. He came out on Monday Night Raw and said, I want to be known as Ron Killings. So where'd all that go? The WWE is back to calling him R-Truth. And then the main event, we had another fucking LA Knight, Sikoa, JC Mateo match, but LA Knight teamed up with Jimmy Uso to take on Sikoa and JC Mateo. And I'm like, if I have to see one more fucking match with Knight, Sikoa, Jason Mateo, I'm going to go crazy. LA Knight has been feuding with members of the Bloodline all year this year. It's almost like every single fucking week, LA Knight is facing the Bloodline in the main event. Can we move on, please? But yeah, overall, SmackDown, okay show was, but nothing too spectacular or amazing. We also had Jelly Roll make an appearance tonight in his hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. But yeah, they're setting up for Jelly Roll to be at SummerSlam and compete in a match, which I'm gonna get to. I'm gonna get to explaining, which I'm like, it's fucking awful. But anyway, let's jump right into the review. SmackDown opened up tonight with L.A. Knight. Yeah! He came out, big ovation from the crowd there in Nashville. Knight got into the ring. He ended up saying predictions and spoilers. He ended up saying those two things that come out of Paul Heyman's mouth often. He ended up saying that Paul Heyman feels like he holds all of that power and the way he does. He ended up saying Seth Rollins, a desperate man who is a little washed. Now he ended up saying that he had to go make the desperate move and join Paul Heyman. He ended up saying together they got this goon troop of Slophouse in Bronson Reed and the dog brain idiot in Braun Breaker. Knight ended up saying that they tried to injure him and hurt him, and that they tried to do it on Seth's orders because Seth couldn't do it himself. Knight ended up saying that in 24 hours, it's him against Seth at Saturday night's main event. He ended up saying even dropping Seth on his head on Monday was not enough. Knight ended up telling Seth that he wants his dignity, justice, and he wants to hurt him. Knight ended up saying that he will hurt Seth. He ended up telling him that he shouldn't be scared to get his ass kicked, and his ass will be kicked. So Knight was like, that's not a spoiler. That's a fact of life. So out came Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman did his whole shtick, ladies and gentlemen. And he ended up coming out with Rollins' Money in the Bank briefcase. Heyman got on the mic. He ended up saying that as Seth's personal oracle, he is blessed with many gifts in life. He ended up saying besides being outlandishly good look as an oracle, he can see into the future for Seth, himself, Braun Breaker, and Bronson Reed. He ended up saying that their future is the future of the entire industry. He ended up saying that he sees LA Knight's future, and it is absolutely nothing, because Knight has no future at all. So this brought out Sol Sikoa. He ended up coming out with JC Mateo, Tama Tonga, and Tala Tonga. Sikoa ended up saying that some things changed, and some things stayed the same. Sikoa ended up telling Heyman that when Paul Heyman left to go to Monday Night Raw and left the family, everything changed. Sikoa ended up saying that there is no more bloodline. There is no more tribal chief. And there is no more wise man. So as Sol Sikoa, Jason Mateo, Tama Tonga, and Tala Tonga started to move down, we saw Paul Heyman slowly backing away. Wanted nothing to do with them. So Sikoa then suggested to Paul Heyman that he leaves the building right now before him and his MFTs put him through a table like he did last year. So Paul Heyman was very scared. He waved at them and he left through the crowd. So we had Sol Sikoa ended up telling LA Knight that he is the new United States champion. He ended up saying that means that the man that beat Knight at WrestleMania, the one that everyone is afraid of, the Samoan werewolf. He ended up saying that he beat Jacob Fatu. Sikoa then ended up telling Knight that he will give him the same opportunity as he gave Paul Heyman, for him to leave and not come back. Or he will make sure that his MFTs make sure that he doesn't walk again. So Knight was like, all right. So Knight ended up saying that the fans won't let him leave. And if they want him to leave, to make him leave. So we had Sol Sikoa and Jason Mateo, Tama Tonga, and Tala Tonga. They end up getting on the ring. And Jimmy Uso ended up coming out. And he ended up sliding a steel chair into the ring. Jimmy then ended up hitting Jason Mateo with a super kick. Jimmy and LA Knight were in the ring with both of them. Both Jimmy and LA Knight ended up holding steel chairs. Tala Tonga was about to get into the ring, but Solo ended up telling Tala Tonga, get down. So Tala Tonga ended up getting down off the ring apron, and out came Nick Aldis. Nick Aldis ended up making a match for later on in the night, a tag team match. And I'm like, yeah, I know where this is going to go. So he ended up announcing that later on in the night, it'll be Sol Sikoa and Jason Mateo versus Jimmy Uso and LA Knight. So when he announced that, I threw my hands in the air like that. And I'm like, really? Another fucking match with LA Knight facing off against members of the Bloodline, the former Bloodline. It's been happening all fucking year this year. Can we move on? Move LA Knight away from facing the former members of the Bloodline. And Sol Sikoa, Jason Mateo, Tama Tonga. Please, move on. But overall, this was a okay segment to open SmackDown tonight. And I'm really glad that SmackDown is back to 2 hours. 3 hours of the show was absolutely fucking awful. That's why I didn't cover most of the 3-hour shows, because the SmackDown shows at 3 hours were boring. And then we saw Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss backstage. Bliss ended up asking Charlotte to be at ringside for a match. Charlotte ended up telling Bliss that they are not friends. Bliss then told Charlotte that she knows that, but everyone out tonight will have their tag team partner out. And if she wants to make a statement, and she wants to make a statement to be out there. So Charlotte ended up telling Bliss she will be out there. Pretty much that was basically that. The only reason why they paired Alexa Bliss with Charlotte is for WWE to have the fans cheer Charlotte. It's the only reason why they paired Alexa Bliss up with Charlotte Flair. Then we went to the first match of the night. Women's Fatal 4-Way. Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne Perez versus NXT's Ruca, the NXT Women's North American Champion, and also Kairi Sane. And Ruca, I am a fan of her. She does, really good in the ring. Seen her matches in NXT, and I cannot wait for Ruca to come up to the main roster. But this was a okay Women's Fatal 4-Way here, but the match meant nothing to me. Match got underway. Ruca ended up dropping Bliss face first onto the canvas. She ended up going for the cover. Kairi Sane broke up the pin. Kairi Sane delivered a kick onto Ruca. She threw Ruca to the outside. Kairi Sane went to the ropes, but Roxanne Perez delivered some right hands to Kairi. Ruca delivered a top rope drop kick onto both Kairi Sane and Roxanne Perez. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Ruca and Alexa Bliss then powerbombed Roxanne Perez. So Perez ended up suplexing Kairi off the top rope. Alexa Bliss delivered some right hands to Ruca. Bliss ended up going for the cover, and Ruca ended up kicking out. Bliss ended up going for a DDT, but Roxanne Perez ended up super kicking Bliss. So Perez then ended up hitting a springboard moonsault onto Bliss. She ended up going for the cover, and Ruca broke up the pin. Ruca delivered a running knee onto Roxanne Perez. She ended up going for the cover, and Roxanne Perez ended up kicking out. We had, later on, Ruca delivered a double soul snatcher to Perez. So we had Ruca ended up going for the cover on Roxanne Perez, but Raquel Rodriguez, who was present out there, she ended up putting Perez's leg on the ropes, breaking up the cover. So Zarya, who was at ringside, which I am a fan of Zarya as well in NXT. So Zarya approached Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel then ended up slamming Zarya on the commentary table. Raquel then delivered a big boot to Asuka, who was also out there. Charlotte then ended up throwing Raquel over the commentary table. So this led to Kairi Sane deliver a right hand onto Ruca. Kairi Sane climbed the top rope. She ended up going for the insane elbow, but Alexa Bliss ended up getting her knees up. Alexa then delivered the Sister Abigail to Kairi Sane. She ended up going for the cover, and there you go. Alexa Bliss ended up winning this women's Fatal 4-Way. Overall, okay match it was, but match really meant nothing because we're going to see all these women go at it Sunday at Evolution with the women's tag team titles on the line. And then we had the Street Profits versus the Wyatt Six in Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis. Very good match this was for the tag team titles. Match got underway. We had Angelo Dawkins and Joe Gacy start off the match. Dawkins delivered a waistlock takedown on Joe Gacy, but Gacy delivered an elbow to Dawkins' face. Gacy ended up going for a splash onto Dawkins, but Dawkins moved out of the way. Dawkins then tagged Montez Ford in. Dexter Lumis then dragged Joe Gacy to the outside. So then SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back from the commercial, Montez Ford delivered a sunset flip powerbomb off the top rope onto Dexter Lumis, which was good. Dawkins was then tagged in, as did Joe Gacy. So Dawkins and Gacy end up going at it again. Dawkins delivered a clothesline, which was followed up by a spinning back elbow to Joe Gacy. Dawkins then delivered a kick to the side of Gacy's head. Dexter Lumis came in. Dawkins threw Dexter Lumis to the outside. Dawkins then threw Gacy to the outside. And Dawkins delivered a senton over the top rope, laying out Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis. Dawkins then threw Joe Gacy back into the ring as Dawkins climbed to the top rope. Dawkins delivered a swanton onto Gacy. He ended up going for the cover, but Gacy kicked out. Dawkins then grabbed Gacy, but Gacy came back and delivered a clothesline. Dexter Lumis then tagged in, and Gacy and Lumis double teamed up on Dawkins. Lumis ended up going for the cover, and Dawkins kicked out. Lumis then ended up slamming Dawkins into the turnbuckle, and he threw Dawkins to the outside. So then, as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins double teamed up on Dexter Lumis. Ford ended up going for the cover, and Lumis ended up kicking out. We had Eric Rowan end up coming down, and Eric Rowan ended up dragging Montez Ford because Joe Gacy ended up distracting the ref. So Eric Rowan dragged Montez Ford to the outside. Dawkins ended up running to Rowan, who ended up falling into the timekeeper's area. Montez Ford climbed the top rope. He ended up going for the frog splash, to which Dexter Lumis moved out of the way. Joe Gacy then tagged in. Gacy and Lumis double teamed Montez Ford with a powerbomb. Gacy then ended up going for the cover, and there you go. The Wyatt Six ended up winning the match. Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis are your new tag team champions. And you had, of course, Uncle Howdy, Nikki Cross in there. They celebrated. So, really am shocked and happy that Dexter Lumis and Joe Gacy are the new tag team champions. And it's a good move there for the Wyatt Six. So hopefully this is leading to them rebuilding up the Wyatt Six. But overall, very good match this was. In my opinion, this was the best match of the night. And then we went backstage. And we saw Fraxium. We saw the Motor City Machine Guns, Gargano and Ciampa. They were watching the match from backstage with the Wyatt Six and the Street Profits, and they all were upset. Gargano ended up telling them that they need to come together because their worst case scenario just happened with the Wyatt Six winning the tag team titles. Ciampa ended up telling them that they should have listened to them. In came Rey Fenix and Andrade. Rey Fenix and Andrade ended up telling them that they are now part of the SmackDown tag team division. And they were like, oh, who gets the first shot now that the Wyatt Six are the new tag team champions? Who will be the Wyatt SICKS' first opponents. So they all end up arguing, and that was pretty much basically that. And then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we had Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll in his hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. You know, I like some of Jelly Roll's music. Think it's, pretty, decent. And there's all this news that was happening this week of Jelly Roll possibly being at SummerSlam and competing in a match, which has come to be, which I will explain here. So Jelly Roll was performing his song Liar. So he made his way down the aisleway. He got into the ring. There was a whole, he had his whole, band up there on stage. And as he was singing, Logan Paul cut Jelly Roll off. Because Logan Paul was like, yo, 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 yo. So, of course, fans booed Logan Paul. Logan Paul was like, oh, everyone is here to see real WWE superstars. Logan Paul ended up telling Jelly Roll that they are not here to listen to music of people who have tattoos of their children, but do not have custody of them. So I'm like, all right, Logan Paul went that way. Logan Paul ended up saying that the ring and venue is sacred, and Jelly Roll belongs on the stage and not in a WWE ring. Logan Paul then got into the ring. He ended up saying that he is disgusted of influencers, YouTubers, artists getting into our industry, our success on a platform that we have built. And I'm like, wasn't Logan Paul an influencer? And he is a YouTuber? Yeah, Logan Paul contradicted himself there. He ended up saying clout chasers like Jelly Roll disgust him. Logan Paul ended up saying that WWE does not need a Jelly Roll, and that the WWE needs him. He ended up saying that he set and raised the bar for what it means to be a professional wrestler. He ended up saying that he belongs here, and his company loves him so much that his podcast just inked, his impulsive podcast, just inked a long-term deal with WWE. So Jelly Roll ended up cutting Logan Paul off. Jelly Roll ended up telling Logan Paul that this is his hometown. And just to be clear, no one here gives a damn about Logan Paul's podcast. So both Jelly Roll and Logan Paul were face to face. And Randy Orton came out. Randy Orton got an enormous, gigantic pop tonight. I mean, the crowd was just so loud when Orton came out. And Orton was like, outsider, are you freaking kidding me? He was saying that to Logan Paul. So Orton ended up saying to Logan Paul that Jelly Roll is one of the biggest names in the music industry. And if anyone is an outsider, it is Logan Paul. Orton ended up telling Logan Paul to show some respect. He ended up calling Logan Paul an entitled, whiny little bitch. Orton ended up saying to Logan Paul that everyone back there moves heaven and earth. And Orton then turned around. Drew McIntyre laid out Orton with the Claymore. So security ended up coming out. McIntyre left the ring. Logan Paul then began hitting on Randy Orton with some right hands in the corner. Jelly Roll ended up grabbing Logan Paul from behind. He grabbed Logan Paul by his hair. And Jelly Roll slammed Logan Paul onto the canvas. Logan Paul then rolled to the outside, and Jelly Roll ended up helping Orton back up. Logan Paul got on the ring apron, but security ended up running back down to grab Logan Paul. So this led to officials and Nick Aldis ended up coming out. And Logan Paul began destroying Jelly Roll's band set and also Jelly Roll's guitar. And pretty much that was basically how the segment ended. This segment was absolutely fucking atrocious. And right here with Jelly Roll, this is setting up for the SummerSlam match. It'll be a tag team match. It'll be Jelly Roll teaming up with Randy Orton to take on Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre. Are you all excited for that match? I know I'm not. I know probably a lot of you aren't as well. I mean, do we really need this? Who asked for this? What an atrocious segment this was. Then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Randy Orton and Jelly Roll were backstage. Orton ended up thanking Jelly Roll for having his back. Jelly Roll ended up thanking Orton for having his back. Jelly Roll ended up telling Randy Orton that he's thinking of being there tomorrow for Saturday night's main event. Orton ended up telling Jelly Roll that he would be honored to have him in his corner. Both Orton and Jelly Roll shook hands, and they ended up hugging, and pretty much that was basically that. Then we went to R-Truth versus Aleister Black. This was a quick matchup here. The match ended with R-Truth winning the match because Aleister Black grabbed a steel chair. The ref ended up telling Aleister Black to throw the chair away. Ref then grabbed the chair away from Aleister Black, and that's when R-Truth rolled Black up. So there you go. R-Truth ended up winning the match. Overall, quick match this was. Then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, we saw Damian Priest. Damian Priest ended up stopping Aleister Black, who Black was chasing after R-Truth. So Priest ended up telling Black he gets it, but to let it go. Black ended up telling Damian Priest that he is right. So both Black and Priest ended up shaking hands. Aleister Black ended up turning back around, and he delivered a knee to Priest's face. And he ended up sending Priest into a metal post. So Black then ended up telling Priest, now I can let it go. So officials ended up coming to break things up between Black and Priest. And that was basically that. So looks like we're going to be getting Damian Priest versus Aleister Black at some point. Then we had Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett was in the ring with Tiffany Stratton, the women's champion, and Trish Stratus, WWE Hall of Famer, legend. And Tiffany Stratton's going to be putting the women's championship on the line at Evolution against Trish Stratus. And this is not a match that we needed, in my opinion. We all know that Trish Stratus does not win the women's championship. So Tiffany Stratton ended up saying that she already beat Charlotte Flair. She beat Nia Jax, and she beat Bayley. Tiffany Stratton was like, why would she not want to face one of the greatest of all time in Trish Stratus? She ended up saying that she took the match because if she beats her, maybe she will be considered one of the greatest of all time. So Trish ended up saying that she feels a lot of pressure, but Stratus should be feeling the pressure. She ended up saying that Stratton needs to beat her in order to be considered one of the greatest of all time, something she already is. Stratton ended up telling Stratton that when she wins at Evolution, she will leave with the women's championship, and Stratton will leave with nothing. She ended up saying that on Sunday, she will do what she did for 25 years straight and deliver Stratusfaction. So Stratton ended up saying to Trish that things are different now, and she knows about Trish's accomplishments. She ended up saying that she watched her VHS tapes. So Stratton going the nostalgic route there. So Trish ended up saying to Stratton, "Oh, that is cute." She ended up asking Stratton if she learned about VHS tapes on TikTok. So Trish ended up saying that she loves Stratton, and she loves what she is doing. But on Sunday, she will become an 8-time women's champion. So this led to Naomi ended up coming out. Naomi came out with the briefcase. Naomi ended up raising the briefcase, and Jade Cargill ended up attacking Naomi from behind. Officials ended up coming out to break things up between them, and pretty much that was basically that. This is a match, like I said, that is not needed at Evolution with Trish Stratus versus Tiffany Stratton for the Women's Championship. Like I said, Trish Stratus is not winning the Women's Championship. The only reason why Trish Stratus is there is not because Tiffany Stratton ended up picking her, is because, it's Evolution. They want some of their legend women stars a part of the PLE. So that's another reason why. Main event: Jimmy Uso and LA Knight versus Sikoa and Jason Mateo. This is the same old, Knight, Sikoa, Jason Mateo, where Knight is just facing, the former Bloodline members. I'm like, come on, move on from this. We had Paul Heyman towards the end of the match. LA Knight ended up turning, and he saw Paul Heyman on his phone. That distracted Knight, and he turned around. Tonga ended up laying out Knight with a big boot. Jimmy Uso ended up rolling Sikoa up, and there you go. Jimmy Uso and LA Knight ended up winning the match. Post-match, Jimmy Uso jumped the barricade as Tama Tonga, and Jason Mateo ended up chasing after Jimmy. Sikoa was in the ring, and he was yelling at Paul Heyman. For Paul Heyman, trying to distract, the match. So Knight ended up getting in the ring, and he ended up landing the blunt force trauma, the BFT, onto Sikoa. Knight then got on the ring apron, and Braun Breaker was in the ring. Braun Breaker was behind Knight. Knight then turned around. Braun Breaker delivered a great spear to LA Knight, which turned Knight inside out. Bronson Reed, who was also there, Bronson Reed went up to the top and delivered a tsunami onto Knight. And finally, we heard Wade Barrett once again on commentary, do the tsunami. I always like when Wade Barrett ends up saying the tsunami when Bronson Reed ends up hitting it. But that was how SmackDown went off the air tonight. Overall, okay show, but if you did not watch the show, you missed absolutely nothing. But anyway, that's it for my review of tonight's SmackDown. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Be sure to check out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today where I did a movie review of Superman. So check that out. And until the next video, I'll see you all later.